My name is Judy. The air in the cozy Italian restaurant was thick with the aroma of garlic and fresh bread, and the soft chatter of diners was a gentle hum in the background. The candlelight cast a warm glow on the polished silverware, but the atmosphere at our table was far from inviting. My father, Mr. Thompson, leaned forward, his eyes cold and his voice firm. We've decided. Tomorrow, we're moving into your apartment. It's what families do. No excuses. His words sliced through the air like a knife. My mother, Mrs. Thompson, forced a thin smile, her eyes shining with a false kindness. It'll be nice to be together, dear. Across from me, my sister Lily scrolled through her phone nonchalantly before setting it down with a smug smirk. Her boyfriend, Tom, twirled his pasta slowly, as if he was already savoring the taste of a rent-free life. I set down my fork and smoothed the crease of my napkin. For years, I had been the one to yield, to sacrifice, to be the reliable one. But not this time. I let the silence stretch, until even the waiter hesitated near our table. That's fine, I said evenly. Just bring $860,000 by morning. Their faces paled instantly. My father's jaw tightened, and my mother's smile crumbled. Lily's phone slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. Tom stared at me, his fork dangling in mid-air. My father slammed his napkin on the table. Selfish. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? My mother's voice rose, brittle and filled with false tears. Ungrateful. We've sacrificed so much for you, and you sit here counting pennies like a stranger. Lily leaned back in her chair, her arms crossed, a sneer on her face. You really think you're better than us, don't you? Just because you work in tech and bought a tiny apartment, you're still the girl who was always there to pick up our messes. But their words didn't sting like they used to. They just brought back a flood of memories. I grew up in a family where Lily was the golden child. She was 2 years younger than me, and from a young age, she was showered with love and attention. Even when her report cards were full of C's, she was praised for her creativity. Meanwhile, I brought home straight A's, but all I ever heard was that I was reliable, as if my achievements were just a given. When Lily turned 16, my parents bought her a brand new sports car. I was 18 at the time, and I was excited about a partial scholarship I had received from a prestigious university in Paris. I had dreams of exploring the city, studying business, and making a name for myself. But then, Lily got into a car accident. It wasn't life-threatening, but the medical bills were huge. My father looked at me sternly when I mentioned the scholarship. This time, it has to be you. Lily is too young to handle this. I folded the acceptance letter and put it in a drawer. I never opened it again. Instead, I got a job at a local grocery store. I worked long hours, ringing up groceries under the harsh fluorescent lights, while Lily was out partying with her friends. I started to build up a small savings account, a secret that I kept from my family. It was my way of rebelling, of holding on to a little piece of myself. During my college years, I met David. He was a computer science major, just like me. He was struggling to make ends meet, fixing computers for extra money. We bonded over vending machine coffee and late-night study sessions. He understood my sacrifices because he was making his own. The startup scene in our city was small but full of energy. I joined a health tech startup as an intern. The office was in an old building with leaky ceilings, but the team was passionate. We built prototypes that were far from perfect, but they worked. Failure was a constant companion, but I wasn't afraid. I had already lost so much. At 29, I finally bought my own one-bedroom apartment. It wasn't big, and the kitchen tiles were cracked, but it was mine. The deed had only my name on it. David helped me move in, and we laughed when the couch got stuck in the stairwell. That night, surrounded by cardboard boxes and pizza crusts, I felt a sense of freedom. But my peace didn't last long. My parents came to visit my office at the startup. Instead of being proud, they bombarded me with questions about the value of my shares and the company's valuation. They treated me like an asset, not a daughter. Aunt Rose, my mother's sister, called me over for coffee one afternoon. She was the kindest in the family. She stirred sugar into her coffee and said in a low voice, "Judy, your parents are in a lot of debt. Lily's spending is out of control, and they're looking at you as their savior." One evening, when I went to my parents' house to drop off some papers, I overheard my father say, "We'll move into Judy's place. It'll save us rent. It's only fair." My mother murmured in agreement. That night, I sat at my desk, looking at the ledger of all the sacrifices I had made over the years. I realized that I had been giving so much, but I owed myself something too. I met Mr. Harris, a lawyer recommended by David's friend. He was calm and methodical. Together, we drew up a set of airtight agreements. He explained that if anyone tried to claim my property, they would have to pay $860,000. Back at the restaurant, as my family raged at me, I sat there, unshaken. At the end of the table, Aunt Rose gave me a small nod, pride in her eyes. The next morning, Lily's social media posts were full of heartbreak and accusations. Old classmates unfriended me, and some sent me angry messages. But I muted the noise and went to work. By noon, my father and mother showed up at my office, shouting and demanding their share. I stood my ground, and security escorted them out. I called Mr. Harris, and he assured me that the documents were airtight. That night, I blocked the numbers of my family members who had turned against me. The silence that followed was not empty, it was a breath of fresh air. Months passed, and I focused on the startup. We signed new partnerships, hired more developers, and the office was filled with the sound of progress. David and I got married in a small park by the river. It was a simple ceremony, but it was full of love. Meanwhile, my family's situation worsened. My parents sold the house I grew up in and moved into a small apartment. Lily's social media feed grew quieter, and her relationship with Tom ended. One evening, after a long day at work, I came home to my apartment. The air was heavy with the smell of rain. I closed the door and turned the key. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was shutting out danger. I felt like I was sealing in peace. The quiet, steady space around me was entirely my own.